The Triple Trio with Hutchi, Richo and RS Dye. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of the Triple Trio. Looking forward to what's going to be an amazing day of racing at Sha Tin. It is Hong Kong Derby weekend. Clint Richardson and Shane Dye ready to dissect it all. Hutch, there's something pretty special about this weekend.
Big weekend in Hong Kong, the biggest as far as the ownership groups are concerned, and everyone wants to win the Hong Kong Derby or have a runner in it even, Richo. So I've got the lucky green on because it's St. Paddy's Day today, St. Patrick's Day. We're looking for the luck of the Irish as we head into the weekend.
RS Dye, I went through all the history books looking at the Hong Kong Derby. I don't see your name there, but no doubt you got close, mate. What happened?
No, I'd never won one. I think I had 2 or 3 placings in them. Hades 1 year for Hazy run third, and one of Casper's run second 1 year behind the horse of Stanley Hose. What was his name? With the V. Viva
Pataka.
Viva Pataka. You rode Fair Trade, didn't you, Shane, 1 year? Did you ride
Fair Trade? He was off. He had a problem. I rode him, but he had a problem. He was a good horse, but unfortunately couldn't reach his ability because of the problem.
Viva Pataka, 2006, ridden by Christophe Semillon, was able to win the race. What makes the race so special, Shane? What is so special about the Derby?
It's no different to the Melbourne Cup. It's the city or the country's race, the Hong Kong race. Australia's race is the Melbourne Cup. The owners just want to win the one race. They try and purchase horses for a lot of money the year, 2 years before, or a year before leading up. They just want to buy the Hong Kong Derby winner. It's a great race. It stops the nation, as you call it.
Yeah, I think it's staggering that it's not regarded, because it's a closed shop, regarded as an international Group 1. I mean, it's considered a local Group 1, but it's not considered internationally as a Group 1. It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Some of those races on the calendar, now that they have become international Group 1s, with invite, you can enter into Hong Kong from anywhere in the world, but it's a special race all the same. And the good thing about the Hong Kong Derby, more often than not, the winner of it does go on.
Yeah,
actually, we do see like the Werthers, the Golden 60s. You got to be good to win it. And usually, in those international races, or certainly the domestic races, as we saw last year with Romantic Warrior in California Spangle, the form can be trusted.
We don't need to go too far back, do we? Romantic Warrior, Sky Darcy, Golden 60 in the last 3 years. The champ, Shane, was able to show his brilliance over 2000.
My favourite year was Able Friend against Designs on Rome, and they were both superstar horses, and Able Friend couldn't stay and didn't stay, but he looked the winner at the 300 when he burst through. But then Designs on Rome, I think Tommy Berry rode him, if I'm correct, just kept coming and outstayed him in the end. But it was them two all the way up the straight. It's a great race.
Yeah, I remember that race that Shane mentioned. I remember when I was in Hong Kong, Zac Purton saying to me one day, Moreira's ride on Able Friend was as good as you'll see in defeat. It was an absolute ripper.
He saved ground and went through them, and he got the run he relaxed him out the back, and he was on the best horse, but not the best stayer. And he just didn't stay that year, the 2000. He got beat twice, once over 1,800, past a mile. He raced twice past a mile. One was in the lead up to the Derby, and Designs on Rome beat him over 1,800, and then he got beat in the Derby, of course.
You know what ran third in that race, Richo? Dibiani, one of the all-time money munchers.
Oh.
Yep. Came back to Australia.
He would have thought there was a chance that he could get his photo taken, and he would have said, not for me, thank you very much. How do we reflect on the week that was for Hutchie's Honkers?
We had a good week in terms of our best bets saluting, and this was another winner for us last weekend. Run Buddy went forward from that wide gate and was surprised. There was some late support for him, but it was actually a pretty good price for a last start winner. Smiling Time had made our Sid file, but the race actually set up well for Run Buddy, even from that wide draw, because I thought he might be able to get across a nice ride there as well. And winner during the week with Cable Speed, who was really well back late too, another on-pace runner. Interesting meeting we had during the week. And, of course, How Deep Is Your Love was another horse that continued his sort of winning way. So we've had a good week, and nice to sort of have that sort of week, Richo, as we lead into the Derby.
We've had a jam-packed show, and we are so privileged to say not only will we get the insights from Nicole Purton, who's been out and about building up towards the Derby, but the man that is riding and looking for his second Hong Kong Derby and riding the favourite, Zac Purton, will join a special guest on the show with all our normal features. Let's launch into Out of the Gate. Well, as we burst out of the gates, that's exactly what Zac Purton did, Hutch, on Sunday with a little four-timer.
Yeah, great return for Zac, wasn't it? Riding really well. And as we've said all season, he is an exciting prospect. This horse he won the last on was our best as well in Golden Express and started very short price favourite. But he backed up that form from earlier in the season with Victor the winner, who runs this weekend. And look, he posted a good number here. This was the performance of the day, clearly. And I've only got him a few lengths off some of the better sprinters in Hong Kong, even at this stage. And he'll improve more. He used to be with David Van Dyke in Australia, of course, up in Queensland. He's a very, very exciting horse.
So 4 to Zac. Huey got a double there. And then Shane, Karis Teeton was brilliant on Wednesday night.
Yeah, rode a heap of winners. Rode very well, although I backed him on one, Telecom Speed, which should have won. Didn't give it a great ride, but never mind. This here was...
How deep is your love?
Very, very impressive. This is a nice horse. This is going higher for sure, this horse.
Shane, he was listening to you. Did you see him throttle that down late?
I'm going to have a talk about that later.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Throttled it down to make sure it didn't jump too much up in the ratings. I love that.
Shane's going to cover that later.
Yeah. Now, we had a big fall at Flemington on last Saturday. And that had impacts from a Hong Kong point of view because Jamie Carr not riding the Hong Kong Derby. The good news is that she's slowly but surely recovering from the heavy concussion she's had. So our thoughts go out to Jamie. She's a friend of the show and she was very keen to go and ride over there. And someone who's got a great reputation in Hong Kong, in Craig Williams, is also on the sick bed. So he's had an operation to repair broken bones, so shoulder area for Craig Williams. So a speedy recovery for both. We move now to a file that we like to call the Black Bookers, but for us, it's Sweet and Defeat.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar Fast Buck, Smart Leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chan.
So, Hutch, who is Sweet and Defeat this week?
Yeah, I didn't see too many on Wednesday. I thought there were some nice runs back in behind, but none of the races went really super. But I've got a couple from last weekend at Sha Tin. I thought there were 2 horses in particular that definitely caught my eye. One of them was Speedy Smarty, who was running on debut, and actually I think ran in a good race. Gee, they had a couple of 1,000-meter races, and one of them they ran very fast time, and this was the race that Speedy Smarty came out of. And Chu Chow Spirit's another one knocking on the door for a win. He didn't have too many excuses, but that's 2 local starts now, and he's really gone well in both of them. That's him in the 3-wide running line with the green body colours with the red cap and red and white sleeves. And he got back a bit. He doesn't have a lot of early speed, Shane, but like he backed this up. We spoke last week about Hugh Bowman going on to ride Thesis, and we thought that Chu Chow was a better ride, and Chu Chow, he'll be winning one soon, I would have thought. Zac won this race. It was one of his 4, but Chu Chow was very good.
Yeah, he ran well, kept hitting the line. There'll be a race for him soon. The other horse you said, Speedy Smarty, he ran well, Clint. Now, they gelded him, and when they gelded him, he improved a lot. He had 4 trials. His first 2 trials were no good, gelded, and he's going to keep improving, I would think, Clint.
Yeah, it was he put in some good closing sections off of fast speed, which is a couple of things that, as a form analyst, you love to see.
Yeah, so they jump into our Sweet in Defeat file. Hong Kong jockeys, sit up, take notice. Genius or slaughter?
They sweep for home now. Beander Cross has come very wide. Beander Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
The Genius or Slaughter file with the Hall of Fame jockey Shane Dye casting his eyes over all the rides at Sha Tin or Happy Valley. And let's start with a positive, Shane. Who caught your eye?
Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Teach the boys about the rating system and how they go up and down. They know it. But it's the one thing when I was riding in Hong Kong that I took notice of. And every meeting I went to, I knew what the horses were rated and how much they could go up for a certain win. Now, we're going to take and show a couple of examples, and the handicappers get it wrong a lot of the time, the ratings. Don't worry about that. They get it right a lot. Now, there's this horse here, he wins down below so easily, right? And he goes up 12 points, which costs him a win. But up the top, he's run half a second faster, and it's probably a better win than the one below, and he's pushed out below, but because he won by so far, he goes up 11 or 12 points that day. What was it? 12 points. The other one, he goes up 6 points, and it was probably a better win. He's gone on to win again. He won last start, but he wasn't impressive. I think they gave him 8, so now he's in Class 3. You've got to know how far you're winning by, and I mentioned that to Karras a couple of weeks ago, and he corrected himself not to win by too much, which was interesting on Wednesday night. I do not want any boys to getting in trouble and getting beat, so be careful. Here's Kataris on the top one, and this is going to win by 4 or 5 lengths for sure. He's going higher. The bottom one, he has a look, which is good. He doesn't win by much and eases down. But the top one, he pulled it back very fast, and they still gave him 11 points, which is too much. Now, the good thing about Wood on Fire was because he didn't blitz him and win by 3 or 4 lengths, which he could have, he only got 6 points. He's got another win in hand now, and he'll go around next start, and if he can have the same type of run, he'll win again for sure, that horse. He should have won 2 starts ago, and he's nowhere near his points and ratings. He's a lot higher than what he should be, and I mean he's a lot lower than what he should be. So he can win again because he hasn't won by too far, but I don't want any boys getting in trouble doing it, but I always made sure I only won by a length at the most.
It is a skill.
It's a skill.
How to
It's
do
a big
it
skill.
in a way.
You got to know, because you don't want to get into trouble. And the person to blame is not the jockey. The person to blame is the handicapper, because he puts them up too much if they win too easy, and it costs them a win. But he's got a job to do too, and he's trying to rate all of his horses accordingly. So the handicapper can be your friend when they're dropping, like a Wood on Fire, but he can also be your enemy with a horse like How Deep Is Your Love when he's going up. So you've got to be careful what you're doing, boys, but don't win by too far.
I like it. Great insight there and some wonderful examples. Any other genius rides? I think you've got Huey Bowman.
I got Huey only because last week we gave him a pay. He was very negative at Happy Valley, and he actually rode poorly for the first time. On Wednesday night, he was more positive, and every ride apart from one of his winners, he was positive, which was Gate, which was really good. Out of the gates, he was positive. Here's one here, Firebolt. The start before he was negative. I know he didn't win, but that's irrelevant to me. But he put him forward in the right spot. He wasn't good enough. He's not going as good as he was before, that horse. But at least he put him in the race, and he was more positive, Clint. A lot more positive. Did you find that?
Yeah, I did. The week prior, I mean, I can understand why he was doing what he was doing, because often, he'd been so successful. But yeah, I think there was definitely a little.
Okay, here's a couple of horses. He was more positive on Nimbus, went forward out of the gates, won. But Valive Fleon, he was back, which is perfect for this horse, and he gave this a beautiful ride, back on the fence and come out at the straight. So he can still ride that quiet race there, but it doesn't need to be every race that he was riding there like the week before. It's a fine art. Some horses have to be ridden back. But he got it right on Wednesday night, even when they got beat. So I just thought we'd put that in there, Clint, just to say.
Yeah, no, he rode really well. I couldn't agree more. And I just think the week before was just one of those nights. Everyone has them. You have a bad night or bad day at the office. And he had so much success, and it was just a couple of little things that he's adjusted. Fantastic rider, in good form, and did a good job there on Wednesday.
The other one on Wednesday night who had a ride, he doesn't get many rides. I don't know why. He's riding pretty well when he gets a chance, was Luke Ferraris on Melbourne Hall. Gave it a good ride. Very good.
Up on the inside. That was brilliant, wasn't it?
But doesn't get many chances.
Okay, so they're all the positives. Who was the slaughter? What jockey got it wrong?
No, just put that in there like that. It was a bit different, this segment. There was no geniuses or no slaughters. It was just trying to help the boys win races, but by not far, but far enough where they're not going to get into trouble. The stewards won't like that. They want them to win easy and no trouble, and I understand that. But it doesn't help the owner, it doesn't help the horse, and it doesn't help the trainer, and that's because of the system.
Okay, so the jockeys take a big, deep breath. Clearly Shane's In love.
Oh, no, please. Zac would understand that.
There'll be
Zac
pedal.
would really
There'll be rose
understand
petals
that.
somewhere, mate. There's rose petals. That's all I'm seeing.
I actually like. I understand what Shane's saying, and he's right to an extent. I like the way the Hong Kong handicapping system is, though. Like, they go up and down a lot more than they do other places.
Yeah.
Everything he says is spot on, but that's just the way it is. That's the environment, and I like the way Shane there that they drop down quickly if they're not showing form. I find in Australia it's a real negative. You can have a horse out of form. They seem
2 years.
They seem very reluctant to drop them back, and there's not that there's not very fluid in terms of where the horses go, and I think it's a real negative to be honest.
No, I'm not knocking the Hong Kong system. It's the best system in the world. It's fair. It's sensational, and I've always said that. But you can beat it. And by beating it, I mean don't go up 14 points or, for wins that don't need to be that big. And that's the way you beat it. It's a very fair system. They do a great job, and that's why racing's so competitive, and it's very, very even, and people bet on it. It's the biggest betting industry in the world in racing.
A lot of those ones that do get 12 as well, and we'll cover it another time. Don't want to spend too much time on it, though. It makes a big difference, and it is harsh, and it does take its toll. You can see it has a huge impact, and we've got a couple running on the weekend, actually, that have gone up significantly in the ratings.
But Bundle of Charm?
Yes.
Zac's coming up. I can see Zac watching now. He destroyed him last year when he busted him by 5. What did he go up, 14 or 16 or something? Hasn't been heard of or seen since.
Ooh, them's fighting words. We are the Triple Trio. We're about to become the Fantastic Four, and then we'll morph into the Fantastic Five after that. But the fantastic fourth element to this show is the inside running we get from Nicole Purton. And Nicole's had a look at her top 5 candidates for the Derby and caught up with all the connections.
It's Hong Kong Derby week, and I've been tracking the leading chances through the 4-year-old series, building into Sunday's finale.
And here is Super Sunny Singh. Sword Point still the leader. Super Sunny Singh's coming after him. Super Sunny Singh's cutting him down. What a day, Vincent Ho. Super Sunny Singh. He won the Classic Cup. Voyage Bubble's running it strongly. Tuchel can't get him. Then packing Treadmill. It's Voyage Bubble and Jamie Carr for the Classic Mile. Double for Jamie Carr, including the Hong Kong Classic Mile.
Starting at 5, one of David Hayes' runners, Bonza Perla, who will wear blinkers in the Derby.
Super Sunny Singh just in front of Voyage Bubble, and Super Sunny Singh has beaten home Voyage Bubble of Bonza Perla. A handy debut. Good run by Bonza Perla first up in Hong Kong.
Richardson was very happy with her. She responded well. And when I looked at her Australian form, her best runs in Australia were in blinkers. So we've saved them up for the big one on Sunday in the Derby, and hopefully that'll work.
In terms of feel, I was of the notion that, that's probably going to be stretching her a little bit over the 2000, but it does give you confidence knowing she has done it. So, hopefully that step up, the tempo of the race, with the addition of the blinkers, all that culminates in a bit more improvement, which she will need.
Trained by Casper Founds, at number 4 is an improving horse, Straight Aaron.
And Straight Aaron, he was able to get clear. Blake Shin drove him through, and he wins and wins well. Straight Aaron beat Natural Storm and Snaffles.
Yeah, I'm happy with him. He just had a soft barrier trial this morning. I have put Hugh Bowman on him. Obviously, he'll be ridden by Blake Shin, but Hughie was very complimentary of his trial and felt that the horse would give a big effort in the race.
Then Straight Aaron at Waikuku, Viva Hunter, Garitis and Packing Ward.
He was second in the Classic Cup. My number 3 Derby pick is Sword Point for Frankie Law and Hugh Bowman.
Sword Point is the leader though. Here's 3 for Hughie Bowman. Sword Point is going to really ram it home. Sword Point won it by 3.
You can see his form, and you can see his one last time. And I hope he can win the Derby because he already have 2,000 meters proof already.
He showed his staying potential, which we were quite confident that he had. It was a very strong run Classic Cup this year, and from a wide draw he was forced to do most of the work, and interestingly the horses around him sort of tailed off, and he only got collared by the Chris So horse in the dying stages. So look, I think those two horses really stamped themselves as main Derby contenders going forward, and of course you've got Beauty Eternal coming from another form line.
Super Sunny Singh has continued to step up under Vincent Ho for his trainer Chris So. He's number 2.
It's Super Sunny Singh taking over now from Gallant Waking. Legend's going to run on into second from King's Capital, but Super Sunny Singh is singing one heck of a tune at the moment. The further he goes, the better he looks. Super Sunny Singh, simply sensational.
Last one is very impressed because it's the first time we step up 1800. But of course, we doesn't know he handle or not. But the way we won on the 16th. Seems like he can handle further distance.
Super Sunny Singh's cutting him down. What a day, Vincent Ho. Super Sunny Singh. He won the Classic Cup.
2000 will suit him as well. The main thing is he doesn't pull at all now, so he can reserve all the energy until the last bit. But from last run, I was covering ground, so it was like a 2000 race anyway, so it was a good prep for him.
And my number 1 chance for Derby glory is not going to surprise you. It's Beauty Eternal.
Beauty Eternal about 5 off the inside. Regency Bobo makes late ground. It's race 5 at Shah 10. Guess who? Zac Purton, that's 4. Beauty Eternal, 1 start, 1 win.
He has been brilliant on the track and progressing through the grades. After an awesome last start win for John Size and Zac Purton, he was given a quiet final trial on Friday with the response from his rider simply being his cheeky grin. Like his main competitors, he looks ready.
Purton's keeping a watchful eye on them. It's Beauty Eternal 2 in front of Ulster St Paul's, who's come again. California 10, but Beauty Eternal, you can book your tickets for March 19. We'll see you on Derby Day.
Wonderful piece from Nicole there with her top 5. So Bonza Perla 5, Straight Aaron 4, Sword Point 3, Super Sunny Singh 2, and no surprise, number 1, Beauty Eternal.
Yeah, great piece by Nicole. She's doing a fantastic job, and it's brilliant to have someone on the ground in Hong Kong as astute as she is.
We need to get the absolute latest from the King, the Zac attack. He dominated Australia a couple of weeks ago, and he's right on the edge of capturing his 2nd Hong Kong Derby. Champion jockey in Hong Kong, champion jockey around the world is Zac Purton, and this season has been a wonderful season. 105 winners at the moment with an eye to the all-time record. He joins us on the eve of the Hong Kong Derby. Zac, as always, mate, great to chat to you. How are you feeling building up to the big race?
Yeah, I've been feeling pretty good, to be honest. I've been looking forward to it for quite some time. Not so happy now the barrier draws out, but we'll work out what we're going to do.
Interesting. You mentioned about the barrier draw. Zac, what didn't you like about it?
I don't like the fact that Sword Point is drawn inside me and directly inside me. I think he can dictate to me a little bit. So, the problem I have is do I gas my horse to get a position and he makes me work, or do I go too far back? Because to be honest, all the on-pace horses are drawn inside me, apart from Voyage Bubble. So they can all take the position that I would prefer to take. And then if I come back and they don't hold their spots too far back, it becomes messy. So, I'm not happy. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I need to speak to John Size and formulate a plan. But what I don't want is I don't want any advice from you guys on what to do. Doubting my judgment. I want to live and die by my own sword.
Well, I wouldn't do that, Zac.
Hey, it's an interesting thing you bring up. I did the map last night, though, Zac. There's not much pace in the race. I wouldn't be surprised if you went forward and let.
Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
Looks like when Hugh rides obviously Sword Point that led up in Australia and won over the trip. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hugh went forward in this race. What did you think Hugh would do Shane?
Oh, he'll be right there. He'll be in the first 3 or 4. It's not hard to work this race out. Ryan Moore will box seat. Village Voyage thing will come across. Encounter will probably go forward, Encountered. Sweet Encounter will be running 3rd or 4th. It'll be up there. It's one paced. It'll be forward. So you got your 4 horses that are going to be right there straight away. Those 4. That's easy to. And Keithy's a risk of going forward also. He can be forward in 1200s, 1400s. So you got those 5 horses that are going to be forward. So I'm not going to say I know what I'd be doing.
Well,
he's on the best horse. He's on a horse that's just got 100 yards on them. It's not even a worry.
He doesn't want to hear any of that.
Shane, our special guest specifically said he didn't want to hear your opinion or our opinion.
No. He said he didn't want to know what we should do or how he should ride it, which I haven't said. I said I know what I would be doing.
Right. Zach, are you still with us, brother?
Yeah. I think I'm more confused now than I was coming onto the show.
That's unusual because you've normally got an opinion.
No, I do, but I'm sitting on the fence here. I don't know. I don't quite know what I want to do, and I think I won't make my mind up until the barrier opens because he can be a little bit fractious in the gate, and sometimes he just misses it a touch. It changes things. So, especially being at the 2,000 metre start in front of the big crowd, he's a horse that can work himself up. He thinks, he looks, he hears, he worries about everything. And so does Super Sunny Singh. I think he's a big risk of going over backwards in the gates. So they're going to have to get him in and get him out as quick as they can. If he's in there too long, I can see him flipping over.
One quick one then about it. Well, we won't talk about the tactics. One thing we can ask you though, how does he feel to you since his last run? And is 2,000 any query in your mind?
Listen, until they run over the distance, you can never be certain, right? So you've always got to have that question in the back of your mind. And the question I need to ask myself is if I gas him to get a position, can he still run the distance? Do I need to ride him conservatively to strongly run the distance? So I need to work that out. But I believe he will run the distance as he's progressed into his preparation. He's lost a little bit of his ping, a little bit of his turn of foot. It takes a little bit longer to hit his top gear in the straight now. So I think everything tells me he's going to run the distance, and I have confidence that he's going to. But like I said, until you test them over it, you can never be certain.
Zach, just decide, I know you don't want to get drawn into the tactics, etc. of that, but just going through your mindset and just for our viewers in terms of what process you go through in terms of when you're thinking before these big races or any race. And we've spoken about what other jockeys will do, and we hear Shane from time to time say about, you know, what he thinks, what the opposition will do. Obviously, how much do you weigh that up and also in sort of compare it to what you want to do with your horse? Is it something you strongly look into in terms of like you see what Hugh's doing or, you know, your dangers, and how much do you let that formulate what you're going to do on your horse, generally speaking?
I think you need to do your homework. You need to know exactly what the other horses are going to do. And one other horse that poses a problem in this race is Bonza Perla, who hasn't drawn a barrier the whole time she's been here and had to go back. Now she's got the blinkers on. She's drawn a good barrier. So do they take advantage of that and ride her in a handier position? They probably do. And if they do, that's another horse that I have to worry about trying to jockey out of a position. Yes, Shane?
No, sorry, Zach.
Oh, sorry, you put your hand up like you're in school. I thought you wanted to say something.
That's what we do when we've got the next question. That wasn't for you, actually. That was for Richo to let me go with the next question. So continue, mate.
Okay, so I actually haven't gone back through and studied all the other runners in a lot of depth yet, but when I'm trying to work out what I'm going to do, obviously I've drawn 7, so the key to getting the best position I can get is to work out where every horse to my inside is going to settle. And once I can work that out, then I can work out what I want to do.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's still that little bit of a grey area. I'm not quite sure what Huey will do. Sweet Encounter can miss the start. That changes things. Bonza Perla, they might want to ride her closer. My horse needs to step away. So there are all those little things that can happen that ultimately will dictate how I ride my horse once the gates open.
Zach, I know what I think of this horse and how good he is. If you had a chance to pick, if they were racing together, California Spangle and him in a mile, who would you pick? I'm just trying to rate how you rate this horse.
It's a good question, Shane, and you're probably preempting things, right? Because after this start, the decision will be whether we stick to 2,000 running the QE2 or whether he drops back to the mile and takes on California Spangle, possibly Golden 60, and the other horses. So that's another decision I'm going to have to make in time. But I know what I think at the moment, but I'll keep that to myself.
I know which one. It's simple. It's not in an query. You ride Beauty Eternal, whatever his name is. And the reason why, and there's only one reason, the other horse can't beat Golden 60. So you know that. So why would you ride a horse that can't beat Golden 60? You got to take the new kid on the block. That's my opinion. Anyway, the only way Golden 60 gets beat is if it's bad luck, as we've seen. Simple as that.
If Golden 60 is heading towards the Champions and Trader over 2,400 at the end of May, is it the right preparation to drop back to a mile after running in the Gold Cup over 2,000 last start, back to a mile at the end of April, then up to 2,400 at the end of May? Or does he run again in the QE2 over 2,000?
That's something I can't answer. I just went because you said he'd be in the mile. So that's why I said I would pick Beauty Eternal because of Golden 60s. It's different if he's not in it. Then you've got a choice to make about two horses.
So if Golden 60's not in it, which way do you go?
Well, then that's a different situation. You've got to line up, and I haven't ridden either horse, but you have, and you know how they feel. But if Golden 60 is in it, it's not even a decision. You've got to ride Beauty Eternal because the other horse can't beat him. So why do you want to be on a horse that can't beat the other one?
Good point.
See, that's my way of thinking.
Yeah. See, we got an opinion there from Zac, and we didn't even see his lips move.
I'll tell you what, it is interesting, though, when you talk about tactics, Zac, because last year's Derby, and this was another option. I know we're talking about switching distances with a lot of these horses, and I know this year they've gone to the mile with Spangle to take on 60. But when you look back at his run last year in the Derby when another horse went and tackled you a long way out, it's a very easy argument to make you could have beaten Romantic Warrior that day if you weren't sort of tackled early in the race. And sort of it forced your hand as well a little bit early there. So it is a race that can throw up a little bit of a tactics. In the Derby, we do see from time to time some strange things going on.
Yeah, you only need one jockey to do something out of the ordinary. And last year it was Vincent Ho. There was no need for him to take off 1,200 metres from home, put the pressure on me 1,000 metres from home when we were going the speed that we're going. All he did was set my guy alight. Soften me up, drag Romantic Warrior and the rest of the field into it. And obviously the inside of the track, the rail on that day was off, so I also had to come out off the fence and my bloke got a little bit lost. But I feel as if I didn't get attacked 1,000 from home, I would have won that race. So it's taken me a year to forget it and get over it. Now you've reminded me.
Well, look, I'm reminding you because you can also go to 2,000 with Spangle as well. Maybe he's not that bad. Maybe he'll run all right over 2,000.
Well, actually, let's give you a positive memory, mate. 2015, John Sizer's second Derby, your first. Describe what this feeling was like to win in 2015.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. It was a late pickup ride. I drew barrier 12. I couldn't get in. It's probably the worst ride I've put in all my Derby rides, to be honest, and it's the only one that I've won. I've ridden some terrific races in this race, and I just keep coming up short, second and third quite often. I think in the last decade, since I won this race on Luga, apart from 2 years ago when I rode Shadow Hero, he bled and obviously run last. I think every other year I've run second and third, so I've always been there. Like I said, I've ridden some really, really good races in this race and just come up short. So hopefully I can get it right again this time and get the result. But this was a fantastic day. It's a special feeling when you win the Derby. It's the race that every owner in town wants to win. It's the race that they talk about all year. You only get one chance at it. It's not like an international where you can go again next year or the year after. So yeah, that was me beating Ty England actually. So it's a bit of a flashback, but hopefully I can get that feeling again. It's been a while, so I've probably got the best chance I have since riding him.
Well, we hope you do too, Zac. But we won't talk your horse up because I know you don't like all that. But let's talk the opposition up. Let's put a little bit of pressure on.
Let's put a heat on him.
Who do you think is your main danger?
So Super Sunny Singh, you can't help but be impressed with what he's done, and every time he stepped up in distance, he's looked even better. He won the Classic Cup in fairly soft fashion, I thought. Sword Point gave him a really good race. He's going to be hard to beat again. And the new kid on the block, Straight Aaron, since changed stable, it seems like he's jumped out of the ground a little bit. That last run, you couldn't be more impressed with. He got stopped in his tracks pretty heavily at the 200 metre mark, and to still pick himself up and win as comfortably as he did over the track and distance, you've got to respect what he's done.
Have you done all the prices, Hutch? Let's have a look at the full field. For those that haven't seen the full field of the Derby, here is the full field. And what you'll notice when you see all the jockeys, it is literally a cavalcade of stars. They're coming from all around the world to ride in the Derby.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I've obviously got Beauty Eternal, a short price favourite. He'll be pretty short on the day. Got him marked 2:17. I wouldn't be surprised if he started shorter, to be honest. I think the barriers really played against Voyage Bubble. I know Shane mentioned he might go forward, but I heard from the stable they're thinking of going back with him. I don't know if they'll be able to execute that from 14 or not, but that might be something to consider with him in terms of your maps as well looking forward. Look, it's a race that's really thinned out, I think, but ultimately we've got Beauty Eternal, Super Sunny Sing, Sword Point. They're your three principal chances, and obviously a different sort of preparation for Beauty Eternal. He hasn't taken the traditional path, but he's been super impressive, and he warrants to be, the short price favourite. And he's looked exciting from day dot, so he deserves to be a favourite. And I've got Super Sunny Sing wrong because I didn't think he'd stay with his pedigree, and I just had some question marks of him coming out of really slow races. But he won fair and square last start, and it was his best performance to date, Super Sunny Sing. So, what do you think the main danger is, Shane, in the race to Beauty Eternal on paper?
He's $1.50 chance, Beauty Eternal. You're not backing him the price. You're just backing him to whether he stays or not. If he stays, he wins. He doesn't just win; he blitzes them. It's not even a race. And I've been saying that for a long time. He's the best thing, but the best thing I've seen for a long time in a Derby. If he stays to 2,000, I keep saying that. Sometimes they don't. You don't, with Able Friend, when he went into the Derby, you knew he wasn't going to get 2,000, right? And I think they were about the same price, Designs on Rome and Able Friend. They're about $2.10 each. I could be wrong. There was nothing between them. But you knew he wasn't going to stay the 2,000, but because he was so brilliant, he might still win. But the other horse was a better stayer. There's nothing like the other horse in this race outside of Straight Aaron. Straight Aaron's the only horse in this race that could beat him because you don't know how good he is, and he's got a lot of improvement in him. If you're going on Aussie's form, he's a serious Group 1 horse, a very serious horse. So he's the one that I'm not sure about. It's been a marvellous job if he can turn him around in, 6 weeks he's had him? 4 weeks to the first run, another 2 since now. But Beauty Eternal should be $1.50. He cannot get beat. He cannot get beat if he runs the distance.
Interesting fact you bring up about the distance profile, because with the Group 1 Goldmine, we've obviously taken a little bit of a different tack, and we've got some selections from them based on distance profiling. So what horses are actually suited to Hong Kong? And these are their sort of four in order. Okay. They got Two Shell, Beautyverse, Atolla Bagil, and Straight Aaron with Group 1 Goldmine using, a slightly different tact in terms of looking at horses.
So they've put a negative on the favourite due to Star Spangled Banner?
Not necessarily a negative, just what horses are best suited and what they've used as well as when you go back and look at the Hong Kong Derby winners in the past, the interesting fact for me is that what we're all talking about, and Zach might be interested in hearing this as well, a lot of them actually profile as milers, even Romantic Warrior. You go back through them. Werther was another one, 16 to 2,000. So that kind of horse, Golden 60 is 16 to 2,000. Their sweet spot is Akeed Mafeed, 16 to 2,000. Yeah. It's amazing that, the pedigrees year after year, what you're looking for is that sort of miler to 2,000. And that won't be an issue, I think, given what we've seen so far from Beauty Eternal, or most of those principal chances. The one that it probably hasn't suited is Super Sunny Sing, but he might be just one out of the box.
Okay, so that's the Derby. We'll let Zach off the hook in regards to the Derby now. Yeah. I'm feeling his body language. He said, boys, I don't want to talk about how the race is going to be run and won, so let's move on to race number 7.
Okay.
Which we know, small field, Hutchbuster, but we know how the race will be run and the tactics are going to be really fascinating.
Yeah, they will be. It's a little bit more cut and dry, this one. I mean, obviously, you would imagine, hopefully, Zach, you jump well, you'll be forward. I think J-Mac's probably going to sit outside you. Ryan will probably look to get the 1-1 on the back of Lucky Swainess, and the other two have got a mountain to climb. But I suppose it's that's the way that it looks, provided that I suppose that you'll jump on terms. But
California is mouth-watering, isn't it? Yeah, this is really good.
Oh, look at those! Look at the lineup. I was going to say I'd love to get a photo of all those riders just before they went out. It'd be a great photo, wouldn't it, with Zac and Ryan, all the rest of them. But
J-Mac, Damien Lane and Blake Shin. What a
Zac, what did you make of this trial from California Spangle?
I thought it was a good trial. Normally he doesn't trial up the straight over 1,000 metres. We normally trial him on the dirt over 1,200 because he's heading towards the mile races. But coming from a mile back to 1,400, Tony's wanted to freshen him up, and he's trialled him up the straight twice now, and he's trialled really well. I think the horse is going super. I think the race is very straightforward. No one in that race is going to do anything out of the box. I'm just going to do what I normally do. I'm going to throw the reins at him. He's an intelligent horse. He can work out how fast he wants to go. And, I expect him to get the job done.
Must have been hard. Are we talking about Zac as well in terms of, like when these horses clash? It probably doesn't happen in Hong Kong as much as it does in other places, but you had to go one way, Lucky Sweynesse and Spangle, and they're both very, very nice horses.
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult decision to make, right? Lucky Sweynesse, I think, is still a little bit unexposed. We don't know what his ceiling is. He continues to improve every start. He might have more there. He's unbeaten at the 1,400. He carried a big weight the day he won this race, but I thought all those horses were a bit out of form at the time, and it was quite a soft race for him. But in saying that, he's won his Group 1 since then. He's flying. I got a lot of respect for him. I just thought at the end of the day that there's no better form in Hong Kong than the Golden 60 form. And California Spangle's been competitive with him for a period of time now. He comes back to the 1,400. I know he's going to be strong at the distance. He's got that great racing style. I just thought that, in my opinion, he was the better ride.
Zac, Lucky Swears, do you think he's better at 1,200 or 14? You've ridden him at both and won on him at both. Which would you prefer him?
I reckon he's better at 12.
Okay.
And whereas California Spangle is absolutely perfect at 14?
Very right for 14. Yeah, he's. I think it's his pet distance, actually.
Shane, do you agree with Zac? Do you think he's gone the right way? Are you California Spangle here?
I'm unsure. I've got to go back over things. I wouldn't be surprised which one won. I can see Zac winning. Of course I can. Getting a soft lead and just rolling along and quickening up at the right time, and he just keeps rolling. He's a fantastic horse. It's just a shame he's had to run into Golden 60s era. Otherwise he's going to be the greatest horse ever to race in Hong Kong probably. You wouldn't beat him. He's out of trouble rolling, and Zac rates him well. But the other horse I've always had a huge opinion of even when he was in Class 3 on the show. I think he's outstanding. Zac knows he's outstanding, but he's probably not at his best distance. I actually think he'll run a mile. Do you reckon he'll run a mile, Zac?
I always thought early on in his career that he was going to end up a miler. So the fact that he's won over the sprint distances, I won a Group 1 over a sprint, that has caught me out a little bit. But I think he's one of those sprinters that just lacks a bit of gate speed. And what you'll find, I think, in this race is he will probably look the winner at some stage. He will accelerate and start to look like he's a danger, but I think he'll gas out.
Yeah, at about the 100.
Yeah. Again, against my bloke, he will.
Yeah, I've got California Spangle a clear favourite. I think that he's 14-16. I don't even think it's a problem him getting over further. I think 1,400 is good for him. Like Zac said, he's got the elite, the premium form. And look, Lucky Sweynesse' last win rated as well as he has throughout his career. He's a seriously good horse as well. But I think, strong 14, I'd prefer to be with Spangle. But I don't think there'll be much in it. I think I had $1.70, $3.50, something like that.
Boys, we haven't even spoke about Wellington. Can he get home over top of them?
No, I think he's a big risk over 14. And Zac's ridden him back in the day. He travelled up a few times. He's a kind of horse that probably a steadily run 14 would suit him. But he'll get a lovely run, Zac Wellington. But I thought early on where he was a bit disappointing in this distance range. So I don't know what your thoughts were with him over 14.
Yeah, he's a very easy horse to work out. He's explosive. He's got an unbelievable turn of foot when it's a sit and sprint. When he's held up, he's very hard to beat. But when you take him into the deep water and drag the sprint out of him, he can't sustain it for long enough.
Go back to race 5. Hutch, we're keen to have a look at that. I see that on our list. And Zac's riding Victor the Winner. And, of course, horse number 1 is named after Shane.
What's that one? I'm a single man. Yeah. Very good point. I'm not so sure that's true. That's why we haven't had any slaughters on this show for a while.
That's exactly right.
No, I think Victor the Winner's a great ride. Zach, gee, he's been impressive, and I love the way what Danny's done with him. He was 44 days in between runs when he was beaten. Of course, I think it was on International Day actually, and then Danny sort of gave him a break, and then he came out and blitzed them here. And Danny's obviously. He said post-race that he worked this horse out in terms of he needs a bit of a gap between runs, and he's been impressive in a trial since. And Danny does a great job with knowing his horses and all-round training, doesn't he?
What you say is 100% correct, Clint, and I love a trainer that's critical of themselves. I think if you're going to get the best out of your horses, you need to be. A lot of trainers kid themselves and try and pretend that they haven't made any mistakes, but Danny was very open. He said he backed him up too quick. He's too small. He couldn't handle it, and he needed to space his runs. And he did that last start. He showed us how good he was. He's done it again for this start. So I'm hoping this time he's on the money again.
You brought up an interesting point as well earlier. I went back and looked at the last couple of Derbies days, Zach. 2 of the last 3 years, there's been that good pattern where the inside hasn't been great. And, it's been a typical A course from that point of view. But there was 1 year, I think Sky Darcy's year, it wasn't too bad inside. So obviously you'll be aware of it on the day, but you'd probably like more of an even track for him, being the fact that he probably looks your leader and looks the horse that'll be up there down towards the inside.
Yeah, exactly. The weather, our track here is really, really sensitive. It's sensitive to any humidity. It's sensitive to any moisture that's in the air. It's sensitive to cloud, wind. At 11 o'clock every race day, they water the track. And when it's overcast, which it will be on Sunday, and the track can hold a little bit of moisture, sometimes that's all it takes to create a little bit of bias. So it's going to be colder, it's going to be overcast. There's a chance that that's going to happen. So I'll be watching that as the day goes on.
Yeah.
The good thing about that race, Zach, just looking at it quickly, there's not a lot of speed in it. Normally those races you got 3 or 4. There doesn't seem to be too many that are going to take you on. Maybe Beauty Tycoon might go a bit from gate 1, but you can sit outside them or lead. There's nothing else there that's really going to go. Trillion Win will go forward probably, but you could just get a very soft lead there looking at this.
Yeah, my bloke's got a lot of natural speed when he gets out the gates. He's obviously had his issues. I jumped him out on Thursday and he was a bit fractious in the gates. So just got to get him right. If I can get him right, he should be able to lead comfortably.
Zach, we noted with great interest that Huey Bowman's coming to ride in the Golden Slipper meeting and Luke Curry's riding in the All-Star Mile and then going back. You would have been no doubt tempted, but you decided to avoid doing all that travel. Was it just to concentrate on Derby Day?
Yeah, I had a lot of offers, of course, and when James McDonald got suspended, they reached out for me to ride Animo. So for me to, at that time, knock that ride back plus Cylinder plus other rides, it was a tough decision to make. But at the end of the day, the Kwok family have been very good to me. I rode their best horse in Beauty Generation. This is the biggest race of the year for them. I felt like the right thing to do was to stay here and focus on this race. So, I put all my eggs in one basket. I hope it works out.
Tomorrow you only got 7 rides. Was that because it's a big day or just fell that way, or you didn't take as many rides as normal?
No, so I've got a theory, right? I don't need the practice. If I don't think a horse is worth riding, I don't want to ride it. All you're going to do is get hurt or suspended for no reason. The only time I end up riding a horse in a race that has no chance is when I pick it up after injuries. We have other jockeys coming to town, so they've got more jockeys available. So they've sort of lent towards putting them on, which meant that I was given less opportunities, and they're the only rides that I was offered that I thought were worth riding.
And they're good rides too. The horse in the last has been going really well, I'm presuming.
He has been going well. He continues to raise the bar. He'll keep getting better. He'll get better as he gets out over further as well. My rides early in the day, I've drawn pretty ordinary gates on, so it's going to be hard. So I expect to start the day a little bit slow. It's going to be tough, but once we get through the mid part of the card, hopefully I can finish strong.
Hey, Zach, just before you go, and wanted to have a touch on quickly, well done picking up the ride on Gigiki. Of course, unfortunate circumstances surrounding Craig, and we wish him a quick recovery, but gee whiz, it's going to be quite interesting to get your feedback post that as well. I mean, tell us about picking up that ride, but also, you'll be able to line up, I suppose, Australia's potentially best sprinter with what we've got up in Hong Kong as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's an exciting horse for sure. He's the emerging superstar of Australian sprint racing, and I'm very excited to pick up the ride. I was happy when the connections reached out. Originally, I was coming down to ride Artorias in the race, but they've changed their mind. They want to run in a different race, which opened the door and has given me the opportunity. So his first up run was good. I expect him to be better, getting to 1,200, and he should be a serious chance.
And with these doors open now, Zac, it gives you the opportunity to keep riding in Hong Kong and then jettison into Australia anytime that there's a Group 1 ride available for you.
Yeah, exactly. Things have opened up. I've been given a bit more flexibility, which is good, which is what I need. And you won't just see me in Sydney. Hopefully I'll be there in Brisbane and back down for Melbourne as well. But, I've got a decision to make in the next 5 weeks. By the end of April, I'll know what I'm going to do going forward.
Nicole's doing a fantastic job on the show. She's amazing. She comes across so good. And I'm told she's going to get well paid. Now, you've supported her for so many years, as in any loving relationship. That's what we do. Can you see the tables turning and you start to get a bit of her income?
I certainly hope so. I keep pushing her to get out there. Don't worry about that. She's enjoying it. She gets down to the track. Unfortunately, you probably don't realise, but the trainers and jockeys are very hard to nail down for an interview in the morning, and she spends hours down there waiting to get them at the right time. So she's certainly putting the effort in, and she's enjoying what she's doing. But, hopefully when we move back to Australia, she can become the star, and I can go for lunch with you, Shane, or spend a bit of time at the club.
She won't let you up here, mate. I can promise you that.
No, you are right about that. The Gold Coast is a bit hard for me.
Zac, mate, as always, we know how busy you are. We really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck, mate. You're riding a serious horse. Good luck for your second derby.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Brilliant stuff. The one and only Zac Purton, great with his time. And what a decision there, Hutch. That resonated with me and also Shane. He said no to Animo and Cylinder because he just needs to stay home and get ready for Beauty Eternal.
Yes, and he set the tone very early in that. He didn't want to be told what he should do and what could
That didn't
be done,
stop our man.
Didn't stop Shane.
I didn't tell him what to do.
He said what he'd do.
Yeah, that's
Shane
right.
said what he would do.
No, I haven't even told you what I would do.
No, you actually. Now, that's the question I was going to get to, Shane. Now, and this is a simple question. Now that he's gone,
Yep.
what would you do if you were on Beauty Eternal?
He rides him quiet. Can't get beat. He just
How far back?
Midfield. Doesn't matter. He knows the horses inside him are going to go. He just comes straight back. Doesn't put. The only way he gets beat if he forces him early and he pulls too hard, right? And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want him pulling. So if he comes back, gets him relaxed, it doesn't matter whether he's 6-8 lengths off them. He's got that much natural quickness in him that when he goes, he'll just pick him up in 2 hops. You saw what Ryan Moore did on that horse he won, and I brought it up here before. That was a miler. Joe got beat, won a 1,400 metre race the week before. He dropped him out 4 lengths last and saved him because he thought that was the only way he could win because he was a miler. And Joe rode him his next start. He rode him too close and he didn't perform well over 2,000 metres. But the start before when Ryan dropped him back, now I'm not saying do that by any means. There's no way you do that, drop him back 4 lengths last. But you have him about midfield where he's in a comfort zone. Also, you've got to remember that it's the A track. And on that A track, they sit 3 deep all the time and win. So I wouldn't be too worried about that as long as you've got cover. But he's too good for them, Richo, that horse. I'm telling you now, it's just too good.
Oh, mouth-watering analysis of what's going to be an incredible race. There's so many features throughout the day, but let's get in. Let's help the punters at home. Those that tune into Hutchie's Honkers and are subscribers are going to get the full set. But here's just something just to whet the appetite. Give us your best bet, Hutch.
Best bet. Well, I think Beauty Eternal's the best, as Shane said. He's the best bet. But outside of that, there are a couple.
Thank you. We've got Beauty Eternal. Don't give us that.
We've got a couple of other very good bets on the day. Look, I tell you, I reckon we can actually get the money early. I think the Casper Founds and Vincent Ho will win the first with a horse by the name of June Planet, who made our Sid file. He's race 1, number 3. He was in a trial recently. They ran 56.6 in the trial, and it was a lot better trial than it looks in terms of his beaten margin. But I thought he had a great chance. Look, Victor, the winner, is a winner. I love what also Danny Shum has done with him in terms of gap. You know, like you can see that intent from the trainer. He's thought, I've made a little blue, as Zac said. This is how I'm going to train him. His trial was outstanding. Zac gets the lead, gets a nice lead, like, of course, Shane had mentioned. And if he does that, Victor, the winner, he's an exciting prospect. So
there's 5, number 10.
Yeah, there's a 3. There's 3, and we'll have a lot more on the day. So make sure you subscribe. I like this card a lot. I've got 2 races to complete my full set, but so far I'm really excited about the card.
Now, I declare my bias that I'm a fanboy with the Hutch in regards to Hong Kong. Nothing else in life, but in regards to Hong Kong. When it comes to the big meeting, he delivers. And that's why you want to subscribe. And RS, talk to me, big boy. What do you got? What do you
Race
like?
3 round the globe.
Yeah, I still didn't want to ever talk about this horse's name.
Race 3 round the globe. He should be winning. That's a bad race. There's not many chances in it. And of course, Beauty Eternal. He'll be winning easy. And if he gets beat, everyone can gloat and say Shane Dye was wrong. What an idiot he's been saying. And I'll just laugh.
Hey, Shane, I've seen some footage lately of you, and you've done this over decades as well, talking about your slippers and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It is Golden Slipper weekend as well, but you don't mind calling it as you see it. Yeah, he's won 4.
Oh, did he won? He won 4.
But
tell you what I do. I seem to back the winner every year. I know that. I'm pretty good at these slippers, boys.
Okay, who wins it this year, champion?
Good question. Actually, Ray Thomas rang me yesterday for a story, and I said, Ray, I've had a quick look, and I've really got no idea. I can make a reason for 3 or 4. I think it's a pretty open race. It's not clear-cut with Cylinder by any means. Learning to Fly is a very good filly. She was taken out of her comfort zone last start. She's probably the only horse I've seen at the trials that could win a slipper. I backed her very heavily at first start in a race only because I saw a trial and I said, geez, that's a slipper winner straight away. And I don't normally do that. So she's got a great chance. King's Gambit, it trialled amazing the other day. Geez, if you have a look at its trial, you'll just want to be on it. And it's got a good gate too, 7. They might ride it a little bit quieter because they rode it like that at the trials. And I think Red Resistance has got a wonderful gate. He's got 16 the outside. He can come across on his own steam, and his last run was better than people realise. He only just got beat, but he was gassed in a trial 2 weeks before that. He ran a 31, which is just too fast and ridiculous for a horse going into a race 2 weeks' time, I believe. I think he'll be better this week, and he's going to give a great chance and a great show in front. What do you like, Clint?
If I was your manager, Shane, and I was booking your rides, which you'd never let me be, by the way.
Yeah.
But if I was your manager, I would have said, get on, little bros.
Is the Blue Diamond form that good?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's good enough to win this
The ratings suggest it is because from Vince Accardi's daily sectional stuff, that's the highest rating race of all the 2-year-olds. King's Gambit, just on King's Gambit, spoke to Peter Snowden. He's so bullish, best of the day.
It's good this year's slipper because it's not going to be on a wet track, I'm told. The last, I don't know how many years it's been on a wet track.
It's interesting. You look at the fillies. Every time the fillies won in the last, say, 15 years, the fillies win when it's a wet track. And when it's dry track, the colts have had the advantage. It's going to be a dry track. It's going to be 30 degrees. It's going to be a ripper. Shane, as always, mate, brilliant stuff today. We loved your discussion with Zac. And I don't know if we got a golden slipper tip from you. You named half the field. But
no, I named 4. Even Ryan's Moore's horse isn't the worst from its gate.
Okay, so that's now 5.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Go King's Gambit, Shane. You know it makes sense.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't want to be on the Melbourne horses. I know that.
Okay, well, there you go. So, in other words, like your theory.
I would have been sacked as a manager before I began.
You wouldn't have even got a look in, Clint.
No, exactly.
The A grade weren't there in the Blue Diamond.
Right.
The A grade stayed in Sydney for a reason. The A grade stayed in Sydney for one race. They sent the B grade down there for the Blue Diamond. But in saying that, Steel City should have probably won the Blue Diamond, I felt. I backed it last week because of its run in the Blue Diamond. And the other horse should have probably won also, the second horse, Don Carillon, or whatever it's called. They both went well. But if you have a look at their form in Sydney, it's good form, but they're not winning. They're running placings.
Like that 7 horses he's mentioned now. Good luck, Shane, for the slipper, a race that you've made your own, mate, and also Derby Day. It's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Good luck, boys.
Oh, the one and only RS Dye and Hutchie's Honkers, mate. Simple as that. Subscribe this weekend and you'll have a lot of fun. Hutch, good luck, buddy.
And to you too, Richo.
Thanks for watching. See you again next week. Triple Trio.